All right. You're listening to Squawk Ident, an aviation podcast dedicated to the journey and the challenges surrounding the life and career of Aviator Tony, his co-hosts, and his guests. Together, we will explore the many pathways to an aviation profession, the realities of what a professional aviator can expect in today's marketplace, and we share many stories along the way. I'm your host, Aviator Tony, an airline pilot currently flying for a legacy airline with close to 20 years on the flight line, at least for now. This is episode 57 of Squawk Ident, recorded on Saturday, October 3rd, 2020, from the Aviator Sound Studios from somewhere in Southern California. Today, we celebrate a remarkable milestone. Today marks the 1-year pod-iversary of the Squawk Ident podcast. Here to help me in hosting the show today is our very own Squawk Ident co-host, Captain Roger. Also joining in on the conversation today is a special guest that we had on the podcast for episode 52, Race, Fly, Build. Here to update us on his progress with the fabrication of his Lancer legacy, we shall welcome back to the show, John Gruber. But first, let's start off the show today by introducing one of my fantastic Squawk Ident co-hosts. He's an exceptional aviator, a professional CFI and MEI flight instructor, a former Embraer 145 airline pilot, a King Air instructor, a Falcon commander, a captain, and a corporate operator as well. He joins us from his layover in Rogers, Northwest Arkansas. Please help me in welcoming back to the show, Captain Roger. Roger,
thanks,
how
Tony.
You doing?
I'm doing all right. It's great to be here. I'm honored to be part of your one year podiversary.
Yeah, amazing. It's just kind of flown by, hasn't it?
It has. I remember being on, I think it was episode 7 or something, and I can't believe that wasn't too long after you'd started, but it's been an interesting ride since then. I mean, to put it lightly, all kinds of things, up, down, left, right, sideways.
A lot has happened in the world.
A lot has happened in the world.
Your first time on the show was episode 8. So if you'd like to hear more about Roger's story and how his journey in aviation all got started, I encourage you to go back after this podcast and go back to episode 8 and check it out. That one's entitled Surviving Furloughs, Bird Strikes, and Bad Schedules, back in November 8th of 2019. We probably should have put some money down on that, because those topics are very true to this very day, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's it just shows you can never predict what's going to happen in the world and life. I mean, who would have thought some of this stuff was going to come back around,
Yep. It's all about the journey. I mean, it's not the destination, and that it couldn't be more of a better example of, how we aviators survive the ups and downs and the cyclical nature of this industry.
Yep. And you just got to keep going and see it through to the other side. And on that note, I know a lot of people right now are scared, and my heart and thoughts, prayers go out to everyone that's going to be affected by this, job wise, health wise, whatever it might be, because I know a lot of people are scared right now.
Yeah, for sure.
There is another side. A lot of people have gone through this, and that would be, I guess, my final words on that. There is always another side to it. This is a cyclical industry, and it will go back up again.
Yes. And I feel that we're at the very cusp of it changing. And unfortunately, I don't think, as we were predicting months and months ago, that it was going to be a rubber band effect and we were going to come back to this industry and just bounce back like as if nothing happened. I just don't see that happening anymore. A lot of the experts that I've followed on television have said the same thing. So let's just see what happens. But yeah, we're resilient, we're strong, and we're stronger together. So let's keep that in our thoughts moving forward. And Absolutely. I really do feel that this industry will continue to flourish as time
comes. As it always will, and always has before.
Yeah. Well, also joining us today, I am very excited to welcome back to the show a featured guest from episode 52, Race, Fly, Build, where we had the privilege to hear about his journey in aviation and how he has more recently turned some time away from his airline career into an opportunity to build and fabricate his Lancer legacy. He has been chronicling his progress with an Instagram video log account where he updates us on his progress almost every day. And I'm just absolutely amazed on how far he's come in such a short period of time. He joins us to update us on his progresses, the challenges that he has faced in transporting the airplane via a rental truck from AI Systems in Redmond, Oregon to his home airport in Aurora, Illinois. Please help us in welcoming back to the show, Mr. John Gruber. John, how the heck you doing?
I'm just enjoying a nice, cool Saturday morning here in Chicago.
Yeah, enjoy it, because I saw from some of your recent posts, you were out flying and, you had this flannel on, you're nice and warm and bundled up. Meanwhile, It's supposed to be 102 degrees today at my house.
Oh, yeah, we've gotten the fall crisp air in the last couple of days. So it's been, a nice change of pace. I get to get my pumpkin spice latte and all that kind of stuff.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. Are you a full flavor pumpkin spice latte guy?
No, gosh, no. That stuff's
or do you one pump it? Because I can't do it. I do like one a season just to say, yes, I had a pumpkin spice latte at the $5. But it kind of grosses me out halfway through. It's just all sugar and syrup, and I can't do it. I can't do it.
I'm not that basic.
Nice. Well, hey man, thank you for being here today. Love having you back. I really did enjoy the ability to talk to you on the first time we got together for the podcast and see how far you've come with this build. And catching up with you is a great opportunity here, and I just want to say thank you. So let's start out.
I mean, since the first interview, it's been great. The sponsorships have been flooding in. Garmin's been talking to me. NASA's been talking about doing wind tunnel. This is all what I would say if any of that happened. But
this is what the podcast is about.
That's it.
Helping people out, getting sponsorships to come in, because we are a pretty famous, well-known. We're pretty high demand.
Hey, you can lose the sarcasm, fellers, because I got at least 10 followers. All right.
That's awesome. More than more than I do.
That's 10 a year. I mean, just think, in 100 years, that's what, 1,000?
Now I just have to extend my lifespan and keep up with the technology. That's it. Well, the you guys. I love it.
It's cool. The response from your podcast and seeing the episodes and stuff, it's been great. The guys have hit me up, and everyone's got a lot of questions, so I've started tailoring some videos and stuff to kind of some questions and things like that have happened from the interview and other vlog videos I've done. Yeah.
Did Breitling contact you? Because after that episode, they wanted me to be their official. They said John's out and you're in, and I was like, cool.
I'm not allowed to talk about it right now. There's been some NDAs, and so my legal team's working on that right now. So, but as soon as I'm able to discuss that, I'll get back with you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Omega and Rolex contacted me too, but decisions. What are you gonna do? So let's talk about this build. You've come a long way, and God, as you were posting, we talked a little bit on the phone about how you were going to transport this aircraft, that you've put your blood, sweat, and tears literally into this airplane build, and now you have to put it on the rotisserie and get that to fit in the back of a rental box truck. And you were posting photos and videos, and I'm like, that's not gonna fit. How's that gonna fit? And you made it fit by what was the clearance on that thing? Inches,
about
wasn't it?
3/4 of an inch on either side of the plane. Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, my hat's off to you. And, the help that you had, I'm sure, you're very appreciative, because those guys worked hard to get that to fit in there and not have any incidences loading it onto the truck. And then I thought to myself, you were kind of keeping me updated on your journey from Oregon back to Illinois. And every once in a while you're like, hey, I'm listening to this podcast. And you send me a photo from the podcast player. And I just thought, how are you going to get it off the truck? I hope you have help at your home airport. And of course, without fail, you had plenty of help getting that aircraft off the back of the truck and into the hangar. But that's a big adjustment. You went from having a professional team there to assist you in any way they possibly could to now really being solo on this build. How's that challenge been for you?
It's, it's very different now, and yeah, we can talk about kind of the transport and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, to your question, I had any amounts of intellectual, just guys knowing what was going on to every facet of this airplane, to now it's just me. So where I was able to work a lot more efficient in Redmond, now I take a lot more time in saying, okay, instead of something taking an hour, it'll take me 4 hours. And I'll have to look at something 17 different ways before I'm comfortable with drilling that hole or cutting that, piece out or aligning this. Because before I'd have somebody looking over my shoulder and say, yep, nope, it looks good. Cut it, let's go. But now I'm the one that makes the decision wholly. And so I have to not necessarily pay a lot more attention, but I have to be a lot more confident in what I'm doing to make sure that I want to proceed forward with that.
Yeah. It really goes to the measure 50 times, cut once.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of homage. But let's talk about that journey that you had. You finished up in Redmond from the last show. Was that kind of bittersweet to be able to go back home?
Yeah, it was. I was out there for the better part of 3 months. I think the plane was out there for about 4.5 or 5 months. But I spent, I want to say it was like 92 days of build time, something like that out there. And, I had a routine. I had an Airbnb. I'd wake up, make myself one egg with, veggies, and then head out to the hangar and, work for 12, 14, 16 hours, whatever the day kind of, entailed. Go back, take a shower, and sleep and do it all over again. And it was beautiful out there. I love being out there, really nice people and great guys to work with. So yeah, that was kind of very much a very small chapter of my life, and a very big chapter of this airplane build. So that's kind of cool to have that. But being back here, it's different. I'm working on the same project, but it feels completely different now, just because it's, my surroundings are a lot different. I'm working with my own supplies. I'm having to kind of figure out what tools I need, what I don't need, what I can make do with. So it's a different feel on the same build.
So let's talk about the drive. You picked up, loaded the aircraft, and were you by yourself driving across the country?
So we spent, it probably took maybe a day and a half to get the airplane loaded, just because, there's boxes, there's equipment, there's just all sorts of parts for the airplane. But I had all the guys at AI Systems in Redmond were helping me load, and because it took, I think, 5 or 6 of us and a forklift to get the airplane in there. And, like we said, the clearance of getting the airplane in the truck on a side was very, very tight. And all these guys are very educated on that. And fortunately, through their knowledge, we knew it was going to fit. It's been done before, and I was told it's going to be very tight, but it'll fit. So I got this 26-foot, Penske truck, and it fit, but it was very tight. It's exactly what they said. But once got it fully loaded, I had another a legacy airline pilot, a different legacy airline pilot, flew out to Redmond and joined me for the drive. And we just kind of bought a bunch of beef jerky and, corn nuts and started driving. And I think the next it took us only 2.5 days to do the full drive. And yeah, I think it was like 56 hours or something total. We did it. We did the whole thing in under 50 hours. That's what it was. But yeah, we just kind of hammered it out, got 2 hotel rooms along the way. And during kind of massive COVID times, hotels were extremely inexpensive. We stayed in Salt Lake one night, and then we stayed in Omaha, just outside of Omaha, the second night. So, yeah, it was really great having someone to join me, and I thank my buddy Brian for joining me to do that, because we were able to swap out driving and just kind of hammer it out and get this I will call it a very stressful time behind me, because the transporting of something like this, to not have something get broken, nicked, scratched, something like that is, a big deal.
So I see you got the rudder pedals, at least the rudder pedal assembly installed, and that was pretty nerve-wracking, wasn't it? Having to cut through the bulkhead there and get it all sorted. How did that process work for you?
So once again, kind of coming from Oregon with AI systems, and then having 2 or 3 guys that can hold things, we can all have 3 sets of eyes on something to make sure it's level and set. To where I was doing this one all by myself, which you've got this rudder pedal assembly that goes in the front half of the fuselage right over there, and so to get that, you have to have it level with the aircraft. And so you're trying to hold this in position and find level, and then find level on the aircraft to make sure that they're relatively the same. And then, you're drilling holes through the fuselage, you're drilling holes through the firewall. And the process is really just time. And I probably spent 2 hours moving things just, a quarter of an inch up, this one a quarter of an inch down, and then moving it to the left or the right, because this is an integral flight control. It's one of your major flight controls. So I set up pillows to be for my seat, to see where I'm going to actually sit in the airplane, and kind of fit how my legs are going to sit, where my toes are going to hit the rudder pedals or the brakes. So there was a lot of, because once I drilled those holes, that's where the rudder pedals are going to be. And it all worked out. And I mean, it won't fully know until I have upholstery in there and sitting there and fully set up, but I've got it as best I can. And I think it's pretty good. It's going to work out, and they're fully adjustable, so I can move them forward and back. So that gives me a lot of leeway.
Yeah. You had mentioned you had put in someone who was 6'4" in there to just make sure.
6'2", yeah. 6'2", and size 13 shoes. Because the whole point of having these kind of upgraded rudder pedals is that obviously the airplane's going to be set up for me, but if I have somebody in the right seat that wants to join me, that's taller or bigger feet or longer legs, I can adjust it. Because one of the biggest complaints people have of the Lancer Legacy is with the standard floor-mounted rudder pedals, there was a lack of room, leg room, and your knees would get bound up. So what I did gives kind of exponential leg room for guys even that big. So,
wow, that reminds me of my first car.
Yeah.
My very first car, we bought a Fiat X19, 1974 Fiat X19, and it's a stick shift, and if you were taller than 5'9", you're going to have problems just getting in the car. And I'm 5'9", 5'9.5", whatever it is, with shoes on, and so that car. Like what you're saying with the Lancer, with the standard rudder pedals, if you're over a certain height, or if you have big shoes on, big boots on, there's no way you're gonna be able to operate the vehicle safely. So good job on the upgrading on the rudder pedals. And the color of the metal, what is it coated with?
That's anodized gold, as far as I know. I don't believe. Yeah, it's too thin to be powder coat. So these are made by Starflight, and it's an anodized gold, and they're very nice. I mean, you got the bell crank to adjust the height and everything, but they're a great piece. So I'm excited to have been able to get them. I got them through a trade with another pilot that's building a Lancer, and he didn't need them. He's building his aircraft actually didn't fit those, so I was able to get those. So I was very fortunate in that.
Yeah. I like that little crank. It's kind of like being in a 737, adjusting rudder pedals.
Yeah, it is similar.
Yeah. So up to this point in the build, and last time you talked about what you had planned to do, and you were going to kind of slow down the process of the build because obviously what's going on in the industry and the culture, and possibly even your ability to bring in regular income with Legacy Airlines. And today is a big day. Here we are recording, and I'm getting these news flashes on my phone. Is this CARES going to pass? Is it not going to pass? Nancy says it's imminent. Don't furlough anyone. At these mainline carriers out there like United and American and Delta and whatnot. Just stay the course and give us time. It's going to pass. And then I'm also getting notifications that nope, it's Rand Paul just blocked it. So it's like, oh my God, I almost want to just turn it all off, wait until it's a done deal, and somebody tells me, oh yeah, last week they passed it. But because it directly affects us, it's something that I do want to keep at least 1 ear open to it. And so this build, you've mentioned that you were going to kind of slow down the process, but here you are still building. What are you getting done?
So there's a lot of work that can be done, quote unquote, for free. You know, my labor hours don't cost me anything, and every minute I'm here, I'm learning something. And part of the transition from Oregon to here is getting kind of my workshop area set up and being able to work more efficiently. So there's, yesterday I was at Hobby Lobby getting, a mat to do cutting, fabric cutters and things like that, which are fortunately very, relatively inexpensive. But there's, sanding, prepping, measuring. There's probably 10,000 objectives that I can get done, of which I'm only thinking about 5 right now, but that I can do without spending money. There's still a lot of money to be spent on this project, but fortunately there's a lot of work I can do to progress, because you want to keep this thing moving. But, without, like you said, having knowledge of what our career is going to do in the next month, 6 months, year, I don't want to just be, frivolously throwing finances at this thing until we know what the future holds to some extent.
Yeah. And is the Lancer an experimental aircraft?
Correct.
Is it?
Yeah.
So what does that mean to those that may not understand what it's, some people might listen to this podcast and go, what's an experimental aircraft? Does that mean you're a test pilot? I mean, what does that entail?
So you've got, let's say if you've ever flown on Southwest Airlines or any other major airline, you've flown in a Boeing 737, for example, and that aircraft has gone through a strict regimen of FAA requirements to become a certified aircraft. So it complies with the FAA regulations of, standard aircraft. This Lancer Legacy that sits behind me is under the category of experimental. So what that means is it physically doesn't comply with the FAA standard aircraft manufacturing. There's a lot of nuances of that, which I can't claim that I know, but this is an experimental aircraft that hasn't gone through the certification process. And therefore the FAA says, all right, well, it's not a certified aircraft, it's experimental. Now that could mean, it could be as simple as somebody gluing a couple popsicle sticks together and covering it in fabric to say, yep, this thing will fly. That's an experimental aircraft. To something as advanced as a Lancer Legacy, where it's plans built. It's a well-known airframe, and it's gone through all sorts of structural testing, flight testing, all this kind of stuff. So it can fly. It's a known quantity. It just hasn't gone through the FAA standard certification process. So there's all sorts of levels of experimental aircraft, from plans built, which is what this is, to just some guy saying, well, I'm going to build something from scratch and see if it'll fly.
Yeah. Well, my hat's off to you, because the work that you've put in to this build and the hours that you're putting into it is just amazing. And I can only imagine the satisfaction that you can get from the first day you get to go out and fly it around the pattern. That's going to be amazing. And let me know when that happens. It might be a little quick flight just to witness that. That would be great.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, I look at it like it's going to be 10 years down the road. I'm hoping it's much sooner than that, but that's, I'm purposely have that tunnel vision to just kind of eat the elephant one bite at a time, and get what I can get done in each little section, and then eventually it'll all come together. I've got guys that come through here and they're like, "Oh, it doesn't look like you've done much in the last week," and I'm like, "Well, thanks a lot." But then I know all the work and that's gone into it. But then I'll like, when I put the rudder pedals in, like, oh wow, that's starting to look like an airplane. So there's all these steps forward, steps back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That kind of thing. But a lot of building is installing something, getting it fit, and then pulling it right back out. And then you won't touch it for, 6 months or whatever. So kind of like with the rudder pedals, I've got the position set. Now I need to build the mounting structure. I'll get it mounted, and fully set in place, and then I'll pull it back out, and it probably won't be back in the airplane for a couple months.
Now, and with your vlogs, I've noticed that you have a station in the hangar, just a nice clean table where you're mixing all of your resins, and it looks like really like a chemical lab. You've got the scale and all that. How good have you gotten at this process? By now, you must be an expert.
Yeah, I mean, when I was out in Oregon, they were a full composite shop, so they had, and I'm trying to mimic what they had because their system works very well. So I've got, I'll put the camera over on that, but I've set up kind of a station. This is very rudimentary compared to what they had in Oregon, but I've got, I've kind of built up the supplies that I need as far as my epoxy resin. It's actually in a wooden box that has a light in there to keep it warm so it doesn't crystallize. But I've got my resin, I've got a scale, mold release, wax, gloves, a cutting table, plastic, micro or flocks like cotton or ceramic beads, fiberglass, peel ply stuff, scissors, shears. I've got rolls of carbon fiber. So, and paint brushes for putting resin, mixing cups, all that kind of stuff. So this is all, the setup of that is really just based off of what I was using in Oregon and what works. And yeah, it's nice to have all that stuff now because that allows me to work a lot more efficiently. I mean, it took me a couple weeks to kind of get that setup going, but it's that allows me, because before I had all this stuff, I couldn't do, resin work or epoxy work and, carbon fiber and fiberglass. So now that I can do that, it's like, oh, great. I can actually move forward with some things. Later today, I'm going to be doing fiberglass layups on the firewall over the hard points I did for the rudder pedal mounts. So that to be able to say, oh, yep, I've got everything I need, I can just go do work. It's fantastic. Because that is probably one of the most frustrating things about building. You come in the morning and you say, okay, I want to get this done. I want to get 3 things done today. Well, you get started on the first thing and 5 minutes into working on it, you're like, well, crap, I need this tool, I need this supply, or I need this setup to do it. And then you can't do it. And so your whole day's shot. You got to spend 3 hours running to the store to get something. So instead of being able to get 3 things done in the day you planned on it, you're only able to get half of one thing done. So it's a big change in, how efficiently I can or can't work.
Yeah. And you mentioned you have to go and grab a part or a tool or a bolt. Mm-hmm. You can't just go down to AutoZone or O'Reilly and pick up a bolt. It has to be manufactured for aviation, and that's not easy. Not only is it not easy to have to go to an aviation supply store to pick that up. Sometimes they won't have that on hand. You might have to order it, but at the same time, the cost of this material, because it's aviation or DOT specific or FAA specific, the cost skyrockets. How have you been coping with having to pick up a part here and there?
Yeah, there's, for the most part, this kit has come with a lot of the hardware that's needed, which is great. But when you start changing how you're building the airplane because some things work better than others, or how they built it changed from 20 years ago, there's for example, hydraulic fittings. I'm doing a different setup than how they originally had it planned. So I need a different amount of hydraulic fittings that are in the kit. So yeah, you can't go to AutoZone. I got an Ace Hardware just a half mile away. Too bad I can't buy anything from there, because boy, would that be convenient. So there's an Aircraft Spruce, which is an aircraft supply store about a 45-minute drive away. So yeah, if I need something in order to work on a specific thing, I need one fitting from that company. Well, I got to drive 45 minutes, go pay $8 for a fitting and then drive back. And there goes 2 hours of my day. For example, here's just like one AN fitting. This is, hydraulic, flared end hydraulic fitting. And I needed 4 more of these T fittings. And they're back ordered for Aircraft Spruce. So now I'm waiting 2 weeks to get this part, as opposed to being able to, just continue working.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're expensive parts. They're aviation grade. So that you're not just going to O'Reilly's or AutoZone and just grabbing whatever bolts or washers off the shelf. You want to make sure that it's the appropriate quality and rating for what I'm trying to do.